Yeah, so good Morgan. You may not know me at all, that's alright because I don't know myself either LMAO. I am using text-to-speech because my voice is as broken as my GPU after loading an e-boy with 10 ray Okay, so let's go to the main subject of this video. On this one I will explain how some 3D graphics are rendered and mainly why my graphics card was about to die 3 weeks ago. Keep in mind I will do my best to explain these processes as right as I can. But I am no expert, and neither have I studied for this kind of stuff. I just want to help people on how to optimize their content, in this case content for VR chat. Also if I explain very obvious things, is because I want everything to be clear for everyone watching this. Okay, I swear I will stop procrastinating. There are 3 rendering methods, ray or path tracing, ray marching, and rasterizing. To start, I will explain ray tracing, since it's the one that is less used for real-time graphics. This rendering method is often used for photorealistic renders. There are various render engines that support this method. Some of the most popular are Blender Cycles, Cinema 4D, Houdini, 3ds Max, Maya, Softimage, Octane, that damn slow CAD software our teacher made us use to model a fucking box, and more. I am not going to explain the whole history of ray tracing because I am not a news article and I am supposed to make you know how it works. I will just say that the concept was invented on the 16th century. Feel old yet? It all starts by emitting a ray for each pixel on the camera. We will focus on only one just so you don't have to watch a line amalgamation bounce around the entire room. I picked this one. Aren't they pretty? Their actual name is 512 bounce 0 sample 1, but I will call them Alex. Alex is going to be projected at the same direction as the camera. Just like with all other rays, once Alex hits a surface, it will bounce or reflect depending on the normal of the triangle it hit. For the people who are new to this, the normal is the direction something is facing at. With this vector array can determine where it should bounce. I will explain further on the next video. This one is only to explain how this stuff works. Before being projected again, it will take the output color from the material and then get multiplied by the starting one, in this case white. You got to be kidding me. Okay, no problem Alex, let me add a quick quad. I swear that's not cheating. Alex will now keep bouncing until they reach the maximum number of bounce iterations. After the last bounce, Alex will be assigned the color that has resulted with all those multiplications. Let's say that, hypothetically, all the materials on the scene are white. After all this trip, the result would look like this. What? You don't see it? Here it is, my little Alex. They grow up so fast. Now repeat this process 1920 by 1080 times to get one sample. This is the result. I know you don't like the result. You cannot even tell what is happening on the scene, but no worries, this has a reasonable explanation. Apart from only rendering a single sample, the rays bounced without variating their path. That means that all surfaces are completely smooth and so meaning that we rendered a completely reflective surface such as a mirror. Now you might ask, how do I make a rough, non-reflective surface? Good question. That's where BRDF or bidirectional reflection distribution function enters. Unfortunately, I don't fully know its formulas on ray tracing, if they even differ on other rendering methods. I'll just explain what it does. Okay, so now when a ray collides, after taking the color, it will calculate the reflection vector again. But now it will change its direction by a factor. You can do that by adding a random value between -1 and 1, this can be done with sines and cosines of other sines and cosines of a seed, adding, multiplying or subtracting a random value. Then to determine how noisy you want it you can multiply these values before the main sines and cosines. Hello, it's Stereo from the future. After a week of procrastinating I just got back to doing the video and I want to say that I realized I am not fully explaining the RGF on ray tracing, but more of the way it works. Also, before continuing, I'd like to show this extremely beautiful piece of art a great friend of mine did. Here is her social media. She is an amazing artist. If you like her art I recommend you to go give her some love and Catalan cream. It's very tasty. Okay, so now that we applied some noise to the rays, let's see what does it look like. Ah well, looks like we are getting somewhere. Now you might say, how is it that it doesn't fully return white on all pixels as you said previously? On my defense, rabbits have minuscule brains and cannot count up to 1. I did not mention about the light source, more specifically the point light up there. Point lights are just sources that emit light to all directions, like a fancy sphere light. So when a ray has contact with the light source, it will get multiplied by its range and color. The higher the range the softer the light and shadows will be. If it doesn't contact with any light, the result will be 0. Now with that cleared, let's render the sample again but now the random factor will be higher. Let's see. Ah well, it looks smoother. Now let's render it again but with the noise factor at 1, meaning that the bounce will be distorted between 1 and -1. Let's try it out. Look at it, seems pretty diffuse to me. But what is it that it looks so noisy? You might ask. As I mentioned previously, we rendered only one sample, so the noise is because of the pixels having only one chance to hit the light or not. If we repeat the render with a different seed, for the random value that calculates the bounce distortion, and add it, dividing it by the number of samples of course, the final render will be less noisy. Well, here it is, a basic ray traced scene, though if you want to do a completely diffuse shader, the bounce vector instead of reflecting, it just follows the normal. That way it's a bit faster to render it. And since diffuse surfaces are completely rough, meaning that the bounce vector will not follow around any direction, there will be a very small difference. Okay, so now this is the end of the video. Since this set of videos is going to be about creating shaders on Unity, I haven't gone further than explaining the very basics of ray tracing. But there are way more things other than point lights or roughness. Apart from explaining rasterizing, I would also like to talk about ray marchers and why using one in front of me will turn me into a being of toxicity and hate, if I am not one already. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget to head page your local VR chat furry.